All right, this is going to be one of those dark ones. So don't watch this if you are under the age of 18, if you are easily triggered, and violence triggers you. The video games Poppy Playtime and Five Nights at Freddy's are pure disclosure. I was kept at the lowest level of the DUMS for what feels like it was probably several years or even many years. And if you've been sort of listening to this kind of stuff for a while, you know that the lowest layer is where a lot of the most horrific stuff is happening. And I believe they took me there and they did this stuff to me. And like, again, I've written this stuff down because it will just slip out of my mind if I'm trying to talk about it because it's that bad. So don't come for me for that. The reason I think that they took me and people like me down to those layers is because my bloodline has healing powers passed down for generations. And I mean, you can see it in my work. It's something that I know that I possess and that I'm using for good now. Not that I had a choice in childhood to use it for good or bad, but you know. And so a lot of people speak about having to go through a lot of stuff in their other bodies, their CE bodies, if you will. But this stuff that I'm about to tell you, my body has been telling me that it happened in this body so that they could study the effects of the healing powers that have been passed down through one of my bloodlines. Because, of course, like many other survivors that were created in the labs, I'm a mix of many, many different bloodlines. Okay, so these are some of the things that happened to me at those lowest levels of the dumps. And I'm doing this for my younger self, and I'm telling you guys this for the people that are still there and they are still experiencing these things. And you should know because it's going to end. It's going to be exposed. Because I'm exposing it, and other people are going to expose it. Okay. So the worst one was having my skin taken off. And I remember being in the bed, and all of this is really, really dark. Like down there, they prefer pitch black darkness. And I remember seeing, patches of orange and yellow and red. They took off everything, including the hair on my head. They took off everything. It was the worst pain I think that anyone could ever experience. And I was strapped down to the bed, and they left me alone. And I think they were studying. Yep. They were studying the effects of infection after that. And I was just there alone for a really, really long time, and I felt all of it. So I think one of the reasons why they also chose my bloodline is because for some reason I have the ability to heal DID or even not split at all during trauma. And so a lot of people talk about how people are chosen because they can dissociate, and I think that my bloodline and I was chosen because for some reason I can stay conscious through these things. And that freaking sucks. And that's, part of the bloodline healing powers. But anyway, the next thing is that they burned me. They basically put me in a microwave. Same thing that they did in Germany. They were doing those same experiments to me. Again, I remember it clearly. I remember the whole process, and I don't know why I didn't pass away. I don't think I did because I remember the near unalive. I remember those points, and all of these tortures, they knew how to exploit the fact that I wasn't going to dissociate and I wasn't going to be unalived. And that might have to do with the element cesium. I've talked to several of my friends about this who have experienced that same element being used to, you know, stave off the unaliving process. It might have to do with that. I don't know. But I was conscious during the whole thing. The next one is they took off my arms and my legs, and then they irradiated me and used gas. And again, I think they were continuing on or replicating stuff from Germany. And again, it was that same, this one was a near unalive, because I got that same feeling of like being close to heaven, where it was like the terror and the despair and the agony peaked to a point where it became joy, and I could like hear the angels. The next one is I remember being put on train tracks, and then the trains would come, and they were studying the effects of that. I can't handle trains to this day. And one time when I was in college, I lived like kind of by a train yard, and the only way for me to get to a certain place like across the train tracks was to cross. Like it was more convenient for me to cross the train tracks. And one time there was a train, and it was stopped, and I went under it, and like that was when the memory came flooding back. And ever since then, I can't deal with trains. I'm working on it though. We need good public transit, so I need to work on that. LOL. You gotta laugh. You gotta make this shit funny. Yeah. Okay, next thing was crash testing, and I've talked about this before in videos where certain companies would use me to test their vehicles as if I was a dummy. The next one was they were testing what probably was compartment syndrome, where I would be crushed between like a plate underneath me and a plate above me, and it was sometimes it was my whole body, and sometimes it was just parts. And I still have a lot of somatic stuff from that right now. Like, as I'm talking about it, I feel my chest just completely constricting and contracting. And this is one of the memories where it was like, yeah, this happened to this body because I feel it. My ribs are still affected by this. I don't think I quite healed all the way. And then the last thing, which is the most related to those video games, is that I was forced to interact with huge hybrids, and in ways where, again, my body would just be completely destroyed. The stench down there was awful, and like the thing that drew me to the video games is like the consciousness of the people that were being experimented on, and you know, all these things are happening. Like, the people down there are fully conscious. I can't express that enough. I don't know why it is that they wanted people like me who can stay fully conscious through horrific trauma. And I might be wrong about this. It might just be that it was just a small subset of us that were fully conscious during the whole thing. But it's in my soul to say that people are conscious down there. And so we have to get to these lower layers and to liberate them first.